Tower Defense Simulator has a lot of different towers. Some offer DPS, some focus on crowd control, some are support for other towers, and some are useless piece of shit. And all of these towers achieve their role by different meanings. For example, DJ booth allows you to play different tracks, with each giving its own boost as well as ability. On the flip side, DPS-based Tower Gatling Gun enables the whole FPS mode to shred enemies with 2000 DPS. Talking about crowd controllers, they tend to use explosives to deal splash damage to lots of enemies at once, and Rocketeer is one example. Rocketeer costs 2,000 to place and then 27,050 to max out. He shoots rockets at a slow fire rate that deal very high damage and can severely cripple or straight up kill hordes of enemies. At this description, Rocketeer seems like an amazing crowd control tower, being able to destroy lots of enemies at once and work at pretty much every game mode. He even has hidden detection, which is uncommon for explosive-based towers. However, Rocketeer has a bunch of problems such as the dead zone. Basically, dead zone makes it that a tower cannot attack in its range. And for example, if enemies enter dead zone, the tower won't attack it and would only continue attacking it when the enemy leaves dead zone. In simple words, dead zone is blind spot. Dead zone itself is used for 2 towers only as far as I know at the moment of editing the video. In other tower with dead zone, Engineer, has dead zone range of 1. This range is so abysmally small that you may as well say she has no dead zone at all. Unfortunately, Rocketeer wasn't so lucky and has been cursed with a dead zone of 12 range, which decreases to 10 on later levels. This means that to use Rocketeer efficiently, you should put it away from the path somewhere in the back so the dead zone doesn't impact him. This can often be inconvenient on small maps like Dead Ahead, where there is not much space to work with. Another issue is that despite being a crowd control explosive tower, his explosion range is not very large. Explosion range of Rocketeer is only 5, which is not an impressive number. In comparison, tower like Mortar, which is also an explosive crowd control tower, has explosion range of 8 at max level, and he's slow as cluster bombs that have additional for range each. And speaking of Mortar, it is final and biggest reason for Rocketeer downfall. Mortar is another explosion-based tower similar to Rocketeer, and he happens to be better. Why, you may ask? Let's just compare them. At max level, Rocketeer has more DPS, costs cheaper, and has hidden detection. He also has better placement limit, and yes, they both have placement limit. But Mortar has better explosion range, and thus crowd control. Mortar itself has significantly more range as well. Mortar also doesn't have dead zone, and he can target flying enemies in exchange for hidden detection. But most importantly, he has cluster bombs up his sleeves. I hope you know what cluster bombs are because I won't be explaining them in the video. The thing is, not only cluster bombs give even more superior crowd control than it already was, but they also enlarge Mortar's DPS enough to be actually bigger than Rocketeer's at max level. This means that Rocketeer's more DPS advantage is no longer valid. Oh, and also, Mortar is stun immune since he is a cliff tower. As you can see, Mortar has way more advantages over the Rocketeer than vice versa. And I'm not going to rank them on level 0 because they are obviously not early game towers. And now we know that Mortar outclasses Rocketeer by almost all departments. So Rocketeer, while looking as a pretty strong tower, has many flaws that limit him, both internal and external. You can use him if you want and he will still deliver decent results. But remember that this tower is not perfect and is also outclassed by other tower. Don't get me wrong, Rocketeer is still a solid explosion-based crowd controller. He is just, well, impractical. What will happen if you get an impractical tower and make it worse? This is Hallow Punk, an event tower of this Halloween. It is supposed to be kinda like Rocketeer for early game, except its stats are not good at all. And by the way, what is even its gender? Anyway, let's just compare its level 3. Yes, it has only 3 levels to level 3 Rocketeer as they have similar price. Alright, Hallow Punk doesn't have dead zone, targets flying, has 1 more range and more explosion range. It also applies burning effect on enemies and knockbacks enemies. Rocketeer has hidden detection and around 1.5x more DPS. On paper, it seems like Hallow Punk is better, right? Well, unfortunately for Punk, DPS is the most important factor of explosive towers. Rocketeer has 1.5x more DPS as I already said, so he has way better cost per 1 DPS. Hallow Punk tries to do both DPS and crowd control via knockback and doesn't excel in either. Like seriously, its knockback is so abysmal it's barely noticeable. To make things even worse, this level is Hallow Punk's last level, its prime. It's the most you will get out of this tower. Meanwhile, Rocketeer has a level for which makes this tower usable in later game unlike Hallow Punk, who is designed for early mid-game. So yeah, womp womp for Hallow Punk.
Actually, Hallow Punk is designed for beginners, as you can get it at level 0.
Well, it's not like Rocketeer costs 2,500 coins, which is accessible for newcomers. Besides, who the hell goes to complete event instantly the moment they join for the first time? So all I can tell you is, get out! Anyway, I think I've proven to you that Hallow Punk is even more impractical than Rocketeer. But not all towers are impractical because of other towers. This is John. This is Militant, a very average mid-game tower with very average stats. And when I say it I mean it. It has flying and hidden detection, and himself he is considered all-round tower. But the problem is that jack-of-all-trade towers don't usually excel in this game. He can be used in lots of different situations, but trust me, there's always a better replacement for it. Need early game? There is military base, normal crook boss, pyromancer, and shotgunner. Mid-game, military base, minigunner, ace pilot. Late game, minigunner and ranger. Hardcore, why are you using him in hardcore? So yeah, all of the towers listed below outdo Militant in every possible way. He is just too average, the perfect example of impractical. Well, that's it for the video. Consider subscribing if you liked the video, and if you didn't, why did you watch it until the end?